All right, this is practice 1-7, and this is focused on the midpoint. All right, so let's just pick a handful of them. There are 20 questions. We'll do 5 together. Let's do, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's just do number 2. I'll circle. Number 2, number 9. Let's do 14 and 18, and we'll do 20. Okay, so again, we're going to do 2, 9, 14, 18, and 20, and then the rest you can do by yourself. So number 2, it says, what's the midpoint between -7 and +4? So what we have to do is we have to take -7 plus 4, get that answer, and then divide it by 2. So let's use our calculator. And I'm taking -7 plus 4. If you can see that, I got a lot of glare there. I'm trying to get rid of the lamps there. Well, that's about it. Okay, equals -3. And that's over 2. And we can leave it like that. -3 over 2 is fine. But you could also divide it out. 2 goes into 3 one time. There's 1 left over. And then we always keep 2. But that's a negative. So I think that's how we should write our answer. -1.5. I know that's really hard to see that negative there. I'm going to try to circle it. -1.5. So there's our answer, the midpoint. Okay, number 9. Moving right along. We have point A, which is 6, 7. And then we have point B, which is, oops, not 6. I was going to write 6 again. Which is 4, 3. And we're supposed to find the coordinates of their midpoint. So again, I'm going to highlight my X's, which in this case are 6 and 4. And I'm going to highlight my Y's, which are 7 and 3 in this example. So I'm going to add 6 and 4. 6 plus 4 is 10, divided by 2. Well, 10 divided by 2 is 5. So there's our first part. Now I'm going to move to the Y's, 7 and 3. 7 plus 3 divided by 2. Well, 7 plus 3 is also 10. 10 divided by 2 is still 5. So this is kind of weird. The coordinate is 5, 5. Both the X and the Y are 5. And that's fine. That's the answer. That's the answer. All right, let's move on to number 14. Okay, so they tell us the first coordinate. So let's call it x1, y1. And they say it's -10, 5. Then they tell us the midpoint, which is 3, -5. And they're asking us for the last point, which is what we don't know. Okay? So we're going to use these pieces of information, and we're going to solve just like we did in our notes. So -10 plus this number I don't know divided by 2 is going to equal 3, because I'm always equaling the midpoint. If the midpoint is of x is 3, then that's what this is going to equal. The first thing that I do is multiply both sides by the 2. And I get negative 10 plus x equals 6. Now I'm just going to solve this equation. So I add 10 to both sides, and I get that x equals 16. So that has to be the answer that we're going to fill in for our endpoint for our x coordinate. Okay, now we're going to move on to the y's, and I'm going to take the y that they gave me plus this missing one, which I don't know, which is what I'm solving for. So 5 plus y, and that's going to add up to be this midpoint, which is usually our answer, which is negative 5 in this case. So I'm going to solve this. Always start with multiplying by 2. And get 5 plus y equals negative 10. Because negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Then I subtract 5. And I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator, just in case anybody is unclear. If I have a negative 10 and I'm subtracting 5, you need to use the negative button, which is right beside the enter button. Negative 10, and then I use my minus button. So negative 10 minus 5. These are two separate buttons. They're not the same button. They look different and they function differently on your calculator. So make sure you know the difference. Then I hit enter and I get negative 15. So y is negative 15. And that's our answer. This is what they're looking for. Okay, let's do 18. So I have x1 and y1. I have 2.5 and negative 6.5. And then my midpoint, actually for all of these, is the same. It's that 3, negative 5. And then I don't know what this other part is. That's what I'm solving for. So I leave that one blank. All right. I'm going to highlight. So I'm going to add those two together. So 2.5 plus some unknown divided by 2 equals the midpoint here, which is 3. So in all of the rest of your 3 here, you will always say equals 3 for the x, and you will say equals negative 5 for the y. So that's always going to be true for you for this problem, for this worksheet. Okay, times 2, and I get 2.5 plus some number equals 6. And I'm going to subtract 2.5. And 6 minus 2.5, I don't know. It's 3.5. So there's my first answer. I'm halfway done. Now I just got to do it all over again for the y's. And I'm going to take 6.5 plus some other number. So I got negative 6.5 plus y divided by 2, and that equals negative 5. And I'm going to start, of course, by multiplying by 2. So negative 6.5 plus y equals negative 10, because negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Now I'm going to add 6.5 to both sides. And we're going to do this in our calculator. So I have negative 10, plus 6.5. And I get negative 3.5. So our coordinate is positive 3.5 and then negative 3.5. And that's the answer that we're looking for. Okay, now the last one I'm going to go over with you is 20, and it's very similar to number 9, except they didn't tell us the coordinates. We have to tell ourselves the coordinates. So we have to be able to read the graph and pick up where the coordinates are. So let's see if we can figure it out. So we go over 3 and down 3. Okay, so this one is 3, negative 3. And then I'm looking here now at the second point here. So we go over negative 12 and down 6. So this is negative 12, negative 6. All right, so we have our 2 coordinate points. Now that we know what they are, so we're at 3, negative 3. I can zoom back out now. I wish this thing didn't shake so much. And we have negative 12, negative 6. Okay, that's a positive 3 here. So I'm going to add those 2 together. So I get 3 plus negative 12 divided by 2. So 3 plus negative 12. Let's do that in our calculator. 3 plus negative 12. If you think for a minute what do you think it's going to be, always try in your head first. And if you said negative 9, you are correct. Oh. Negative 9. Okay, negative 9 over 2 is top heavy or improper. So we need to divide it out. So we're going to get negative. So you think, how many 9s are in 2? I'm sorry, how many 2s are in 9? The other way around. How many 2s are inside of 9? Well, there's 4, and that would make 8. So that means we're 1 away, and then this number never changes. So it's negative 4.5. There's our first part. Now let's do our second part. So I have negative 3 plus negative 6 divided by 2. So I got negative 3 plus negative 6. Oh, this is weird. If you do negative 3 plus negative 6, you're going to get negative 9 again. We're going to get the same answer. Negative 9.5, negative 9.5. This is still going to be negative 4.5. And so our coordinate point is going to be negative 4.5 and negative 4.5. Those are our 2 coordinate points. So let's go ahead and plot it, and let's see if we agree. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back in. Hopefully the camera won't shake. All right, so negative 4.5 would be probably about right here, and probably about right here. So that would be right around there. Yep, I agree. That looks like it's pretty good. I agree that that is the midpoint. All right, so the rest of them I want you to do by yourself. If you need to go back through the video and watch certain parts, go ahead. Otherwise, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.